We are moving on to lesson 4, the Phoenicians. So let's go ahead and look at our digital notebook quick. It's a shorter digital notebook. So the first 2 pages are your vocabulary words. The next page, we will start with our actual questions. This is part 1, and then you'll have, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 pages for part 2, and then 2 pages for part 3 video. So you have one mastery check question here, one mastery check question there, one there, one there. Almost every single page there is a mastery check question. Let's go ahead and start listening to the lesson.
Lesson 4. The Phoenicians. The Mediterranean Sea forms the western boundary of the Fertile Crescent. The Phoenician civilization began here, on a thin strip of land along the Mediterranean coast, in what is now Lebanon. Like Sumer, Phoenicia consisted of city-states. Although Phoenicia was small in size, it had an important influence on the region's history.
All right, let's go ahead and watch the video. I'm going to make this full size so that the video will be full screen.
Knowing our ABCs opens the door to reading and writing. By learning just 26 letters, we share complex ideas or lose ourselves in a world of stories. In English-speaking countries, we're taught the letters of the English alphabet. Have you ever wondered where those letters came from? You might think it was the Greeks. After all, the word alphabet comes from the first 2 Greek letters, alpha and beta, like our A and B. That's a good guess. However, the Greeks learned their form of writing from the Phoenicians, a Mediterranean people who were intrepid traders and merchants. Before the Phoenicians, the main written language used a series of symbols called cuneiform. Interestingly, cuneiform is a writing system, not a language, and it doesn't have letters. It uses roughly 600 to 1,000 symbols to create syllables or words. This means that cuneiform is not an alphabet. So, why did the Phoenicians create a new writing system that consisted of only 22 letters? To answer that, you need to understand who the Phoenicians were. Phoenicians didn't have many natural resources of their own in the small kingdom they controlled near present-day Lebanon. So, they had to trade for what they needed. They were excellent sailors who navigated throughout the Mediterranean Sea and beyond, down the coast of Africa and up the coast of Spain, all the way to Britain. Can you think of any reason a simple written language would be useful? Consider the number of different people with whom the Phoenicians traded and the many languages they spoke. Also, think about all the records a Phoenician trader had to keep. Sales and orders, cargo lists, ships and destinations, reports about clients, and even news. You get the idea. Now, which of these 2 options would be easier? Teach all of your trading partners the hundreds of cuneiform symbols needed to communicate, or create a simple 22-letter alphabet that everyone could learn? Let's see how the Phoenician alphabet influenced our English alphabet. Here are 4 Phoenician letters. The Greeks and Phoenicians were trading partners, and the Greeks based their alphabet on the Phoenicians. These are the ancient Greek letters. Eventually, the Romans used the Greek alphabet as a basis for the Latin language. As the Romans built their empire, Latin became a common language from Italy all the way to Britain, where it became the English ABCs. Why do you think the use of the Phoenician alphabet by the Greeks and Romans was so important?
All right, let's go ahead back to where we were. All right, let's look at page 1. We are looking at our 6 vocabulary words, which you've already seen. You've already defined them in your Frayer. The first word, import, good or service sold within a country that is produced in another country. Export, good or service produced within a country and sold outside the country's borders. So let me differentiate these 2 for you. For instance, import. If the United States were to import things from China, that means that we are buying things from China. If we export items, it means we are selling items we make here in the United States to other countries. So, a good way of looking at these, if we are buying things from other countries and they are being imported into the United States, we are bringing them in to the United States. If we are exporting things from the United States, they are exiting the United States, going somewhere else. They are made in the United States and they are exiting, and we are selling them to another country. Hopefully that helps. Navigation, art of steering a ship from place to place. Colony, group of people living in a new territory with ties to a distant state. Cultural diffusion, spread of cultural traits from one culture to another. That would kind of be like in the United States. We're not Mexico, but we eat Mexican food. It spread from Mexico to the United States. So that was a cultural trait, the Mexican food, burritos, tacos, nachos, into our culture. So the American culture did not start with the Mexican foods, but it spread through cultural diffusion to the United States. Lastly, alphabet, small set of letters or symbols, each of which stands for a single sound. Go ahead and get all 6 words defined. Go into your purple PowerPoint, copy and paste the definitions for pages 1 and 2 in your digital notebook. All right, moving on to page 3 in your digital notebook. We clicked next one time. Let's go ahead and listen.
Who were the Phoenicians? The Phoenicians were fearless sailors who guided ships full of trade goods through ocean waters. For hundreds of years, they dominated sea trade across the Mediterranean, just as the earlier Greek Minoan people had done. Origins. Phoenician society developed from the earlier Canaanites. The Canaanites were a people who lived in parts of what are now Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Nearby Egypt had a strong influence on Canaan. In fact, Egypt controlled parts of Canaan off and on from around 1500 BCE to 1150 BCE. Phoenician society began to emerge after Egyptian rule ended. The independent Phoenician city-states soon prospered. In general, the rulers of Phoenician city-states were priest-kings who shared power with leading merchant families and a citizen assembly. Farming and manufacturing. Geography greatly influenced Phoenicia's development. The Lebanon Mountains formed Phoenicia's eastern border. These heavily forested mountains sloped down close to the Mediterranean coast, leaving little flat land for farming. Phoenicians manufactured a number of goods. Weavers created cloth that they colored with a rare purple dye made from tiny sea snails. They sold this purple cloth for high prices. Skilled Phoenician craftsworkers made pottery and glass and metal objects. They also used trees to make wood furniture.
All right, we're going to pause there because I want to look at the 2 questions over what is going to be read to us. So under Phoenician traders, what were the products that Phoenicia imported? You'll find that answer in this blue highlighted paragraph. There is a list of quite a few of them. Like 6 or 7. I would like you to choose 3. So out of the 4, please choose 3 of them in your question. And then number 2, the goods made and shipped by Phoenicians to other lands are called what? You'll find that answer in this circled yellow text. So let's go ahead and listen.
Phoenicia had few natural resources of its own, so the Phoenicians traded with other cultures for resources and goods. Phoenician traders brought back many imports. An import is a good or service sold within a country that is produced in another country. Most Phoenician imports were raw materials, including gold, silver, tin, copper, iron, ivory, and precious stones. Phoenician craftsworkers used these raw materials to make bronze and silver bowls, iron tools and weapons, and gold jewelry. Traders shipped these goods, as well as pine and cedar logs, wine, olive oil, salt, fish, and other goods, as exports to ports across the Mediterranean. An export is a good or service produced within a country and sold outside the country's borders.
All right, again, number 1, what were the products that Phoenicia imported? I've changed my mind. I'm just going to generally say what they are since it says it in this blue highlighted paragraph. So get that answer in your digital notebook now. Number 2, the goods made and shipped by Phoenicians to other lands are called what? This is a mastery check question. You'll find that answer in this yellow highlighted paragraph. Get that now.